Welcome to another edition of Good and Plenty. I'm your host, Jeff Goodman, and we have a hell of a show for you today. One of my favorite guests, and the timing couldn't be better. Former Gonzaga star Adam Morrison will join me, and he'll talk all things about his own life and his experience at Gonzaga, and you name it. And he could talk about the top-ranked Zags right now, who had that big win against Duke in Maui. So it should be an interesting conversation. One of my favorite people and guests that I think I will have over the course of this year on this pod. Remember, you can subscribe to the Good and Plenty podcast on iTunes. Give us your reviews. You can subscribe on Stitcher, CLNS Media. You can find me on Twitter at Goodman Hoops. You can also find me at Stadium. That's watchstadium.com. And every Tuesday, the NBA edition of Good and Plenty. Every Thursday, the College Hoops edition. And again, please give us your feedback. But now it's time to get to Adam Morrison, former Gonzaga star, now does radio and commentary for the Zags. Quick break to tell you today's show is brought to you by The Athletic. If you haven't heard about The Athletic by now, you must be living under a rock. These guys have been crushing it every day with every element of sports coverage imaginable. Whether you're looking for specific local coverage with beat guys, sports discussed under a national lens, or everything and anything in between, you got to make sure you take a look at The Athletic. There's no pop-ups, no ads, just high-quality content waiting behind every single click. You got NBA guys, Zach Harper, Frank Isola, Sam Amick, who's been a guest in the show, Shams Charania, who's been a guest and also a colleague of mine. They have you covering everything NBA related. If you want college hoops, we got my guy Seth Davis. You got Dane O'Neill, Brian Hamilton. They have an army over there. You can't get content like this anywhere else. 600 to 750 new articles a week. Who else is pushing out quality content like that at that rate? If you haven't signed up yet, take advantage of this deal because it's not going to last forever. Go to theathletic.com/Goodman. Get 40% off your monthly subscription. That's a subscription for less than $3 a month just by going to theathletic.com/Goodman. Shams, Amick, Harper, Dane O'Neill, Seth Davis, Brian Hamilton. I can go on and on and on forever. All for less than $3 a month. Sign me up. Sign yourself up, too, for theathletic.com/Goodman. Now pleased to be joined by none other than former Zag star Adam Morrison. Great time to have you on, Adam, with Gonzaga being number one, coming off that win against Duke, and they got a good schedule coming up. First of all, good to have you on. And are you going to be out in Phoenix in about 10 days to watch the Zags Tennessee or no?
Yeah, yep. I'll be out there. I'm a big fan of Phoenix as well as obviously the Zags, so I'll make the trip for sure. Looking forward to it. Maybe
we're going to hang in. We're going to hang in Scottsdale at night.
You know, Bottled Blonde is definitely on the docket for the things to go see. Usually is when you go to Scottsdale. So yeah, I mean, I'll be out there. The question is whether you will be.
I will be out there. Listen, I was out there, and I got you by a few years, but I was out there in Scottsdale pretty. I didn't recognize Matt Bolden a couple years ago because of his hair. But you guys were buying me a few drinks a couple years ago when you're out there for the Final Four, and you and I had some fun. I think the year before that in Tucson, where we went to some club in Tucson called like Hi-Fi downtown, and I went to school at Arizona that I never knew like existed. Now it didn't exist back when I was in school, but this place was pretty good, wasn't it? Like it was like a little Vegas club. Yeah,
it was pretty legit for a quote unquote college bar. I do remember that time. It was fun. That was my first time being in Tucson and U of A in that area, so I was shocked by just how many people there are and good-looking people and things of that nature. So I was like, wow, this is great university. I don't know how you guys, ever lose at sports. I mean, recruiting has got to be pretty easy, obviously. So it was eye-opening, to say the least.
I was surprised at how many and that was a young crowd, right? I mean, we would both admit that was a younger crowd than both of even you. And how many people knew who you were from the 21 to 25? It was probably 19 to 25 range. how many people knew who you were? Does that happen a ton wherever you go in college towns?
I guess not as much as it used to, I guess. I mean, I think only because if we were, I was traveling with the team. So then it was kind of, we played that night, before that afternoon. It's tampered, obviously, since I've stopped playing, which can be a good and a bad thing as well. So, I guess we're finally getting to that generation that doesn't know anything about my playing at all, which, like I said, could be a good or a bad thing. Depends on which way you want to look at it. So sometimes, locally, especially on the West Coast, people recognize me, but sometimes it's nice to be able to kind of just blend in, be. So,
all right, So what are you doing? What are you doing now? I mean, what's the life of Adam Morrison like these days? Work, family, play. What the hell do you do all day, every day?
So I'm a color commentator for the Zags Radio and IMG Network, which takes up most of my time in the winter. Obviously, call all the games on the radio, home and away, which I do enjoy. It helps me get my fix, for staying around the game. And, obviously I know the program top to bottom pretty well, just being in the area and obviously playing. So that is what keeps most of my time. I have 3 kids, 10, 7, and 2. So I'm all over the spectrum of AAU basketball, dance recitals, a naughty 2-year-old. So
two girls and a boy, right? 2 girls and a boy?
Yeah. Yep. 2 older daughters, and then my son's the youngest. So, I got my boy, so now I'm officially done with that whole aspect of it too. Yeah. So, I stay busy for the most part. I help out at the high school I played at as well when I'm in town, not traveling for games, just to, like I said, get my fix for basketball. It's good stuff. I help out with my daughter's team as well. So I stay busy. I'm lucky enough to not have to go punch a clock or anything like that, do it 9 to 5. So I got to be a dad and, stay around the game, just call basketball games.
So your girls, your son's young, obviously he's not a hoop player yet, but your girls who are 10 and 7, are they playing hoop already? Are they any, are you trying to push them?
Yeah, my oldest daughter plays. She's finally starting to fall in love with the game too this year. So it's been really exciting for me to, kind of push her in the right direction as far as, just the joy of playing basketball and what it can bring, to your life. I know it sounds cliche, but, once you see a kid that finally turns the corner and the light bulb kind of goes off a little bit, basketball wise, it's fun to see the growth and the excitement of wanting to play. And then my middle daughter is, like a cheerleader dance. Also, she does 3 types of dance. I've tried to get her to hoop. I've tried to get her soccer, volleyball. It's not, but she stays busy and she works hard at her dance stuff. So I'm okay with it. I don't care what my kids do, as long as you're, involved in something. I don't care if they were in band or whatever. You just got to do something. So they stay busy. I stay busy. Like I said, I'm AAU soccer dad pretty much on the weekends, and, dance recitals and doing all that stuff, just like every other dad my age.
I got a good one for you. So my daughter's not an athlete really at all. She's more in acting and all that, and, singing and whatnot. So this had to be, she's 15 now. She's a freshman in high school. This had to be probably 7 or 8 years ago. She's probably like 7. And she started playing basketball. She wanted to try it out, or maybe I wanted her to try it out, probably. So I'm helping when I'm around. The guy who's coaching the team, I think had quit right before the start of the season. Whoever took over didn't really know what they were doing at all. And obviously with my travel schedule, I'm there some of the time and I'm not others. So I show up and I'm trying to teach them, the basics, the absolute basics. They're 7. And one girl was standing under the hoop, and I told her something and she didn't move or whatever. And so I kind of picked her up and moved her. So after the practice, I get off the court and my wife looks at me and she's watching. She's like, "You can't do that." I'm like, what do you mean? What? Do what? It's like, you can't move. You can't touch the girls. You can't move them. I'm like, what do you, I'm a coach. Like, I'm helping coach. I'm just helping her. She's like, no, you can't do that anymore. I'm like, all right, well. So that was the end of that. She lasted a year.
Well,
she actually tried,
It's CYA. I mean, your wife wasn't totally wrong, I guess. But,
yeah, exactly. You never know, right? You never know these days. You need full video of everything, just
Absolutely.
in case. So that was the last real year that she played, and it was fun. It was enjoyable, but like you said, to each their own. You let your kids do what they want to do. I'm sure you would like it if your son turned out to be the next Gonzaga, shooter, scoring machine. But if he doesn't, he doesn't.
He's playing hoop no matter what.
He's playing hoop no matter what. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously for my daughters, they can do what they want, and I'm going to push them towards sports. But like my dad did with me, there's going to be kind of no choice when you kind of brainwash them young until you get older, and you're like, oh, now I get why there was only basketballs and a toy box when I was growing up. Now it makes sense. I didn't really have a choice. So I think I'm going to be kind of like my father did it, is just push him in the right direction and make sure that he wants to play hoop.
You were a ball boy, right? I mean, that was one of the, and I want to play this game. We'll start it now with this question, but I want to play a game of like fact and fiction with you. There's so many things out there. Some are true, some aren't. We'll start with an easy one, all right, which is Gonzaga. Was it your only Division I scholarship offer when you committed?
Yep, it was. I was probably like a 6'3", 6'4", slow white kid, type 1 diabetic from Spokane. So they were the only school to really give me an offer.
Wow, that's crazy. And you played AAU ball, like you played on the circuit, all that, or not really? Yeah,
no, I did. I played Vegas and LA, and Eastern Washington Elite was the program, and it wasn't like we were, in a big metro area and just kind of got buried. My junior year, I broke the scoring record, the single season scoring record for our league, which is 4A highest classification. So it's again, it wasn't like I was playing against nobodies or anything like that. So yeah, I just think part of it was being in the diabetics, so schools were kind of scared, which makes sense. And then just not really being on one of those premier AAU teams. Did it a little bit, but it all worked out, obviously. The program is from Spokane, and that's where I'm from. So it was a, perfect marriage in that sense, coming out of recruitment. But I mean, I didn't even go on any visits. I went on one official visit to WSU, I think. And
they didn't offer you.
They didn't offer me. It was, what was the guy's name? He used to be at Oklahoma State before Graham, I think was his name, was the coach at the time.
Greg Graham.
And they invited myself and my father down to a game, and it was the Arizona team that had, I think, Luke Walton, it was Channing Frye, it was, I think Iguodala was on the Jefferson, I think Bynum was on that team. It was in that mix of like high flying athletes, right? Fun to watch basketball. And it was 2-for-1 ticket night, and there had to have been like 200 people there, and it was bad. So my dad was like, well, you're definitely not coming here. And then Gonzaga offered, and we were fine with that. So we made that decision. But yeah, no schools really recruited me coming out.
That's crazy. I love those stories. Like, to me, those are kind of, there are some guys in the NBA that obviously you knew all along they were going to be great. The Kevin Durant's, certainly plenty of others. But then you look at the Steph Currys of the world and the chip in their shoulder. And, I was even talking to Victor Oladipo about it a couple of weeks ago and how much that's motivated him throughout, because you didn't have people telling you how good you were at a young age. You have it now, and you probably tend to think it's bullshit now when people tell you, because they never did.
Yeah, no, I think it has to do with a lot of, successful athletes on, most American sports. If you look at most of the great quarterbacks, probably besides Peyton Manning, who now plays. That was a high draft pick that was picked, from the beginning, from high school on. All these guys, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, were all told they can't play. They can't play. Ben Roethlisberger. Yeah. It's the same in basketball as well. There's guys that, like Steph Curry, like you said, played at Davidson. Nobody even knew who he was, really. And if he wasn't, if he wasn't Dell's son, he probably they told him he could probably only be a Division II player just because of his size and what have you. So, yeah, definitely chip on your shoulder has something to do with it. And when people overlook you, it gives you that extra motivation for sure.
All right, we're continuing on this fact and fiction with Adam Morrison here. Next one. You were the assistant video coordinator at Gonzaga a few years ago. You know what I'm going to ask you next. You know what I'm going to ask you, right? Could you break down any tape? Could you do anything video-wise with tape when you were at Gonzaga? Do you know anything?
Nope, I couldn't do no DivX or none of that. Or whatever they have.
Awesome.
Like, no chance.
Tremendous.
No chance.
Tremendous.
Yeah, I was a grad assistant, finishing my degree, so I had to have a title somewhere, but I couldn't. There's no chance. I could watch game film, but I can't clip it. I can't do the lines and all that stuff. There's no way.
Did they even try? Was there ever a moment when they were like, "Hey, Adam, you know what? Your title's assistant video coordinator. Maybe do you want to learn? Did they ever try or never?"
No, they probably knew that I was just moved on from something else, I guess, or made it an excuse, blame the computer, the software.
Awesome.
I mean, like I said, I could watch film and break it down, but I can't clip it. It's a whole different world. Some of what those guys do, like the lower end assistant coaches, I mean, lower end, not in a bad way, but just not as high up in the totem pole, obviously, they watch so much film and have to watch bad basketball too as well, which can be tough. I mean, honestly, just being a color commentator and watching some of the games that we have, obviously Gonzaga's fun to watch, but some of our conference games get pretty ugly quick, and you wish they had running clock like they do in high school when there's blowouts.
No question. I say it all the time. I'm at a ton of those games, whether it's AAU or even in college. There's enough of them that you're just like, all right, can we move, move on? Especially like the double, triple headers. I'm seeing, next week, and I think the Gonzaga Tennessee game is first, so you'll be good there. You won't have to sit through the Nevada Grand Canyon game unless you.
Well, Nevada's good. Yeah, they're both programs. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
250 plus RPI, it's brutal. Absolutely brutal.
Career earnings, I think I looked it up. I think it was somewhere around $17 million. Fact or fiction, you have the majority of that money still in the bank, or you're making, earning interest.
Fact. And I'd say that with a little bit of trepidation because
you going through it?
I don't. Say again.
I said you're going through it with those three kids. Is that why?
Yeah, a little bit, and just I've been lucky to have the right people around me, so I don't want to make it seem like I'm some financial guru or anything like that. I was lucky to have the right financial advisor, still do early on, and kind of understand, how to put money away and save and live. You can still live a good lifestyle, but you don't have to be crazy. So that's why I can do what I do, I guess, for calling games. And just like I mentioned earlier, being a dad, I was lucky enough to have people whisper in my ear, say, hey, you should probably save that money instead of buy a Lambo or something dumb like that. So
what was the dumbest thing you ever bought? You had to have bought at least one, knowing you. At least.
No, I've made some, of course. Yeah, I've made some dumb purchases. One time I had like 6 classic cars. But the thing with a classic car is they don't really depreciate. They do a little bit, but they for the most part hold their value. And they're usually like $30K, $40K instead of, $400K. So, those are obviously not the greatest purchases, but
you could have done worse.
I didn't invest in like inflatable couches or anything like that. Some of the weird stories that you hear. So I've been pretty lucky.
How many cars do you have now?
3. Yeah, I
3?
have 3. Yeah, 3.
And your favorite car is what? What do you drive most?
In the summer, I have a 85 Caprice that I've done some work on, and it may sound funny as a quote unquote classic car, but it looks pretty cool. I bought it from a guy that I knew that I did some stuff to it. So yeah, it's probably my favorite. It's got a really nice sound system, so that's kind of the deal breaker for me.
Are you what do you like music wise now? Are you an old school guy, or have you kept up? I mean, your daughter's, I got to watch, I got to listen to so much stuff now that my daughter likes that it's I got to keep up.
No, I like everything but like country, I guess you could say.
Yeah, me too.
I can't do the twang and, I can't do that style. I've given it a fair shake. It's big around this area, but I just can't do it. But I like everything. And, like you said, with daughters, your music choices change. I like a lot of like 80s pop, 90s pop. When you're out on the lake, out on the boat, you can't really put on a Dr. Dre or whatever, like you got to change.
You don't want everybody looking at you?
Well, you gotta think of the content that's being played, and those young minds are listening to it. So you're like, well, I want my kids to think that I was a Boy Scout, so we're gonna play music that's like a Boy Scout, so they get old enough to make their own decisions. But it's funny how you change when you get old and you have kids, and you slowly just start becoming a square.
It's crazy. No, it is crazy. And again, like it'll go back once your daughters get a little bit older. Now I don't even fight it because she's listening to music all the time now. That's honestly way worse than anything I listened to when I was her age. So
yeah, there's a certain level where you can't fight it. It's, when I was 11, 12, I was listening to, parental advisory stuff. My parents had no clue.
Right.
And when I can control it, obviously I'm going to, like I said, be kind of a square and be like, well, you can listen to it. It's got to be the edited stuff. So it's different.
All right, so Kyle Wiltshire had a weird one. Maybe it's not so weird. Mm-hmm. Maybe you do have this bunker with food, water, and weapons. I don't know where he said it was, but fact or fiction?
It is fiction, and I've had to refute this story many times, which is always a pleasure of mine.
I apologize for asking again and not hearing your answer,
No, it's all right. No, at the time, I guess he was confused. When I was coaching, after the senior guys would come through, I would take them shooting. And where I live, I have 80 acres of land. That's just land that I bought almost a decade ago and what have you. So that's where the idea of like I have some compound or weird shooting thing. No, I just have land that I bought as an investment. I got a really good deal on it. It was 2010, so obviously the market was still low. So in this area, you're allowed to own rifles and handguns and what have you. So I guess you guys thought I had a bunker or whatever, but I literally. I've had a Sports Illustrated writer. I've had a Bleacher Report writer, and I'm like, guys, it's
not a bunker.
It's a room with 3. It's a room with 3 safes. I'm legally supposed to lock these up like this. Like I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, and so that's why it was frustrating for me to have that story out there, like I was Ted Kaczynski or David Koresh or something weird like that. Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's like I shoot guns like a lot of people in this area. It's not like a weird thing. It's a subculture in the U.S. And, so no, I don't have one. I don't, store food or like.
You're ready for the world to end. And exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So. I mean, I get he was just trying to be funny, and Kyle's a good dude, and
he is a good dude.
In ill context.
He probably feels bad. That's my guess.
he apologized too, and because just the way it was portrayed was, like I said, like I was, running a compound or something in Eastern Washington and gone off the rails or something like that. It was just, it's like going to play golf on the weekend. People go shooting. I mean, it's just how it is. And it's something that I enjoy, but it's not like doesn't run my life. I'm not like guns everything or pro everything. Like I get it. It's one of those issues that kind of got out of hand, and it was fun having to do a media tour to explain that I'm not a lunatic. That was a fun time of my life.
Oh man. All right. Next one. You and JJ Redick back in 2006 were like video game buddies playing Halo 2, texting each other. Like what, I guess, fact or fiction, the relationship was completely overblown.
Relationship completely overblown. And we talked about this on his podcast. We met each other at one of those, I think it was the Jordan camp down in Santa Barbara that they do. And we're just, hey man, you're a cool guy or whatever. And, it was at the time kind of like how Fortnite is, where everybody was playing Halo 2. So we had each other's gamer tags, but like, I think maybe we texted each other maybe 5 times in the whole calendar year. You know what I mean? Like, and so I think the relationship was overplayed. Let's be honest, it was 2 white guys in college basketball. So that relationship, that relationship was overplayed as well, just by the media. So
come on, we overplay stuff? No, we never do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So it was blown out of proportion, but there was nothing really wrong with it, I guess. But it was one of those deals, like, to correct it, what would it do at the time anyway? Like, it didn't really matter to be like, oh, I've only talked to him this many times or what have you. So, it was overplayed, definitely.
All right. Here's a good one. I don't remember if this is Jared Dudley who said it or something, or multiple people. The fact or fiction, you only showered a couple times a week. And I don't know if that was college, NBA, now. I mean, help me out. Do you shower now? Go ahead.
Yeah, of course I do. Dudley thing was blown out of proportion as well. When I was in Charlotte, let's just say our locker room chemistry wasn't the greatest. Our team chemistry wasn't the greatest. So a lot of times after practice, I would just go home. I didn't really like those guys. They didn't like me. It wasn't like no secret or anything like that. We weren't very good. It was the usual bad NBA team type of chemistry. So I would just go home. And so sometimes they would think that I wouldn't shower when it's like going to work out at the gym. And I mean, does everybody shower in public places, or do they rather just get in their car and drive home?
Yeah, I go home. I don't know about you. Like I
go home. Yeah. That's kind of what I was upset about. I was like, well, I just would go home, obviously. So, so I guess fiction, obviously, I do shower now.
That's good to hear.
It's so weird how the media just people say the weirdest shit about me. It's so fucking weird, honestly. Sometimes I'm just like, all right, but I'll just stay in my lane, I guess, and continue to do what I do or whatever. So, fiction.
I'm going to go off on a tangent here just because I do know you pretty well. And one of the reasons why I had you on here is because I don't think a lot of people have a good handle on who you are and what type of kid. You're not a kid anymore, but you're still a kid to me, I guess, because I'm older than you. What type of guy you are and the character and the way you treat people. And you're right. Like it's got to be hard being you in a sense, especially as you get older as a parent and some of these things come out. And you probably worry a little bit of like what else comes out once your daughters are old enough, to hear some of these things. You probably worry a little bit. No?
Yeah, no, I appreciate what you just said. But yeah, like the bunker thing really bothered me because in today's climate, if you get labeled on either side of the political spectrum, that could be negative in somebody else's eyes. So when that stuff came out, I was actually meeting with my lawyers in town and was thinking about suing Wiltshire at the time for defamation. I would talk to Barstool. That's why they had me on right away too, because I said I was going to sue them, just because it was just completely untrue.
Yeah.
And like I said, you get framed in a certain light, and then people judge you based on that assumption or incorrect reporting. And then you can be put behind the 8 ball further in life, for jobs, or like you said, especially for me, what bothered me was, when my kids get older, I don't want them to think that their daddy's crazy person or was at any time. It's like I showed a lot of emotion on the basketball court. I mean, who doesn't? I've never been in trouble or anything like that. So that's what's kind of bothered me a little bit, is about the betrayal of, just me in general. It's, people really don't know me. But that's also kind of been the nice part about being away from the game is, you get a little bit of the people not knowing who you are, where you're, what you're about. And that's kind of been a blessing for my life, to be honest, to kind of just step away and just to be a father and stay around the game as much as I can, but not have to be in the news or anything like that constantly.
Quick break to tell you today's show is also brought to you by Mint Mobile. There's nothing better about the holiday season than unwrapping a brand new phone until you get hit with your brand new monthly bill. Big wireless providers can really suck the joy out of the holidays. So this year, don't just upgrade your phone, upgrade your wireless provider and switch to Mint Mobile. For a limited time, Mint Mobile is offering the best holiday deal in wireless you've ever seen. 3 months of service for only $20. Mint Mobile's holiday deal is here for a limited time. $20 total gets you 3 months of wireless service with 5 gigabytes of 4G LTE data each month, plus unlimited talk and text. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan. You can keep your old phone number along with all your existing contacts. Mint Mobile runs on the nation's fastest, most advanced LTE network. And if you're not 100% satisfied, Mint Mobile has you covered with their 7-day money-back guarantee. Take advantage of this Mint Mobile holiday deal before it's gone. Get 3 months of wireless for $20 and get the plan shipped to your door for free by going to mintmobile.com/good. That's mintmobile.com/good. 3 months of service, just $20 at mintmobile.com/good. So one of the scenes that everybody asks you about all the time, and I saw you wrote in the Players Tribune thing you did, was that you're an ugly crier. When after the game against UCLA, Sweet 16, you guys had it won multiple times, and then it flipped so quickly. And after the game, you looked obviously despair, you shocked, every emotion you could have, because again, you thought you were going to the Elite Eight. You probably thought you had a chance to win a national title that season, and all of a sudden it was over so quickly within a 30-second span. How often? I mean, have you watched it? Do you watch it? Like, what do you think?
I've watched it once years ago. The thing about that game was so odd is like 10 things had to go wrong for us for that to happen, and then they literally, all of them did. Obviously, missed free throws, weird calls they'd thrown. I mean, Jordan Farmer made like a 17-foot bank runner,
Ryan Hollins making 2 free throws.
Weird. Yeah, just weird. A no foul call on JP Batista when he inbounds it, and when they get the steal. I mean, if we get a foul there, he probably makes free throws. We win. Everything changes. Yeah. So like I said, I watched it once, and but it's been years, obviously, since that's happened. And the thing I laugh about now, and I've said this on other venues, is, how many guys do you see crying now? A lot after games, right?
All the
Especially
time.
in the NCAA tournament. Nobody gets hammered. I got hammered.
You really did.
Nobody else gets hammered. So I'm always like, well, okay, fuck me, right? That part is kind of befuddling, but it is. I don't really care, to be honest. If that's the worst thing people think of me, that's fine. Everybody who's played at a high level, or not even a high level, but has really enjoyed what sport can bring, and like the camaraderie and being successful and all the team stuff. If you played in high school basketball, you went through that on your senior night, or when you lost in, whatever sport, your last game. I knew that was my last game for Gonzaga, obviously, and I'm a local kid. We already established that. So yeah, it was tough at times, but it doesn't really define my life.
I think it shows the human side. A couple of years ago, Harry, you know who Harry Giles is? He's with the Kings now. He was the kid who was hurt with the ACLs. So he's at the Peach Jam, and they lose in the Peach Jam, a damn AU event, and he was bawling. And again, like, to me, it just shows you care so much. Like,
care, exactly.
I love that. I'd much rather see both the emotions on both ends of the spectrum, right? Like, that's why we love college basketball, to me, compared to the NBA, is because there's not enough. There's so much bitching and complaining among every damn superstar in the NBA, but not a ton of emotion. That's why I like Kevin Garnett. Like, I'm not the biggest KG fan necessarily, but the guy worked hard and he wore his emotions on his sleeve. And sometimes I think he took it to an extreme, getting down on all fours, when he was guarding Jared Bayless, like the trash talking. I liked it for the most part, but to me, you want the emotion.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think you said it best. It shows that you care. And, that's, people always complain about that of professional sports, that they don't, there's no caring or there's no emotion behind the play. So, I have always had that similar take as, I don't mind seeing it. A lot of guys have been emotional after their last games in their career. And like we said earlier, that game was pretty much won by us. I mean, we were up 16 with 6 minutes to go or something like that. I mean, we're going to play the Memphis team that beat us earlier in the year, and we felt like we should have won that game at their place. So we're obviously doing the cardinal sin of sport of looking ahead, but it was natural to during that stanza of the game. And like you said, just a blink of snap your fingers, it was gone. So it was one of the hardest losses, obviously, of my career. And I would venture to say probably Coach Fuse and most of the staff at Gonzaga, because we were on the cusp of really elevating the program, to where it is now, but about 9 years ahead or 10 years ago, whenever that was. So it was one of those that just was so emotional and so tough. I just wish, for my sake and my kids' sake, somebody throws me a towel, I put it over my head and walk to the locker room. Nothing ever happened. You know what I mean? So, it's just like so crazy.
Yeah, a do-over. Yes.
Yeah, cause and effect and all that stuff. But, like I said earlier.
Are you a crier at movies?
No.
Never.
Decided. I probably got teared up maybe a little bit the first time I saw like Shawshank Redemption, and that's an easy one at the end, or he gets to see Redick.
See, people now probably think because of that scene with you that you're just like a crier, like you just cry all the time, right?
You're the only one that said that, Jeff. So yeah, I guess we'll go with that. But I guess.
Have you cried? What about with your
2018? It's okay to be emotional, right? So I mean, so I'll take that as a yes.
I'm going to see if I can get you to cry in Scottsdale in a couple of weeks. I'm going to see what we could. I don't know how. I got 2 weeks to think about it.
Take me golfing and have a weird prop bet on the side, then maybe a bit or two.
Done. So I talked to Vin Baker, former NBA All-Star. He went through a bunch of stuff in his career. I don't know if you follow his career, but he was actually working at Starbucks.
Sonics.
Crazy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So right. He was a local guy to some extent. He said he scored 41 once while he was high. Have you ever played while you were high? Have you ever played after smoking weed or no?
No. I was never, because when I was in the league, they tested. That's when they started to do the 4 randoms. And I never smoked during season. when I was playing at Gonzaga as well, I was always an off-season guy, and
impressive. I'm impressed.
Yeah, no, I wasn't. Yeah, my dad was a college basketball coach growing up, so I had to be smart, and I love the game too much. That's one thing I've always kind of marveled at is, when you see guys go to like the NFL Combine and stuff, and they test positive, it's like you can't put weed down for your career. I don't want to mock anybody for a couple months. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Like, you have all summer to enjoy yourself, whether whatever substance that may be, but you can't do it to potentially make millions of dollars and set your family up is a huge, obviously, red flag for me. DM or a scout, like, that's impossible for me to fathom that you can't just set her down for a little bit and move on.
All right, so I want to go. Let's move forward to kind of Few and this Gonzaga team. First, I want to get your favorite Mark Few story. I'm going to start with mine, and I'll make it abbreviated just because yours will be better than mine. But years ago, this had to be about, 8-10 years ago. Few likes to play some blackjack. Every July, it was, I think they were at, which hotel did they always stay at? Is it Caesars? I think they stayed.
No, the one in Vegas.
Yeah.
It's the one at, I think it's the Mandalay Bay, and but it's not attached to the hotel. I know. Anyway, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah. So I was there. It was like Dan Munson. It was a couple other guys. I don't know, Bill Greer. Like, they were like, that whole crew that he kind of hangs out with, and they were all playing blackjack. And one of the guys got up, Billy. He was an assistant at Texas A&M. He got up. He had gotten his ass kicked in blackjack. I sat down, and this was back when I was making nothing. So I didn't have a lot of money, but I'm like, I got to play. It's Few and Munson, and they were having a blast like they normally do, drinking and playing blackjack. And I sit down, and like 20 feet away is Mel Gibson at a roulette table. And we're all kind of laughing. Mel Gibson, first of all, he had his shirt buttoned down, like all the way. Like, you could see, like, literally to the bottom button. This dude has got, his chest hair hanging out, and he's got like a 17 or 18-year-old. She looks 17 or 18. She's probably a little bit older. Maybe she was 21, on his arm at the time. And I had never seen this side of Mark Few before. Like, he's having fun with the blackjack deal. This was kind of early on when I started to know him. And like he's kind of ripping on the blackjack deal a little bit.
Yeah. He's human, which is
totally
odd sometimes for Fewy.
It is, until you get to know him. And then you realize that's more Fewy than what we see on TV sometimes and whatnot. Like, people don't know the real Mark Few. They don't understand that he's sarcastic. He's fun. He's like a regular dude, but a regular dude who, even when I was in San Antonio for the Final Four last year, I'm walking along the Riverwalk, and most coaches, they're not going to see. He's literally way out on the Riverwalk. Everybody can see him walking by. It's him, Turgeon, Tad Boyle, and they're all with their families. The kids are in a back table right behind them, and they're all drinking beers.
Yeah.
No pretense. He is what he is.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I wish the country saw that side of Mark Few, or knew that side of Mark Few.
Yeah, he's definitely, he's got a wry sarcasm to him and a very dry sense of humor. You kind of have to take it with a grain of salt. But once you get to know him, obviously, like you said, and when he kind of opens up a little bit, it's more humor based instead of, because when you're a player, he's always kind of ripping on you in a a secondary manner, I guess how to describe it. And he's kind of making fun of you, but it's not.
You don't love it.
Great intent. Yeah, he's not doing it with. He's not MFing you, which some coaches do, which I always appreciated. I don't like to be just, screamed at for no reason, but he'll yell at you. But it was mostly trying to motivate you to play harder by kind of making fun of you, if that makes any sense. And everybody has their coaching style, and obviously his has worked. But like I said, if that takes the place of calling you a pussy or a motherfucker like some coaches do. I'd rather have it the way he does it. So, you just have to learn how to deal with it.
So give me your favorite Fuse story. What's the one that you maybe even never told before and been afraid to tell? Has there been anything? And we don't want to get him in too much trouble here, but like a good Fuse story.
The one of him chewing me out was my freshman year. We played. Remember that good Stanford team that went undefeated and lost in the second round in Seattle? What team they had? I don't think they had any pros on that.
Was it Lopez's or no?
It was no. It was the year. It was right before the Lopez. They went undefeated. Remember that kid hit a half-court shot at Stanford? Remember that team?
Yes.
Anyway, so they're really good. But they were just perfect system. I think it was Mike Montgomery.
It was. Yeah.
So we played them in Oakland, and this is when Gonzaga's. This is after. The couple runs. So like we're kind of establishing ourselves, but we're not quite there as far as athletes and depth. We have good players, but we're still mid-majors when we were still mid-major, even though nobody liked to admit it.
Yeah.
We go down there and they beat us by like 25. I mean, we get fucking rolled, just our asses handed to us. And so we get back and Fewey's, obviously pissed. I played like 19, 20 minutes as a freshman, come off the bench. I averaged 11, had a very good season. I had like 22 that game or something like that. Really good game. So I'm feeling good about myself, but it was 22 like in garbage, pretty much garbage time as they were blowing us out.
Okay.
And so we come home from the flight, and this is when we used to fly commercial, and we had practice right when we got to the arena. We didn't even get to go home. This is Sunday. He's like, all right, everybody get taped. We're having practice. So as we're warming up, he calls me to the center circle, and there was a couple possessions where I didn't dive on the floor, probably rotate or something like that. And he fucking like sat there for 10 minutes and called me like, every name in the book. He's like, he's like, you like Larry Bird, you're more like Kiki Vanderway. Like he just fucking destroyed me.
Poor Kiki.
Just destroyed me. And it was one of those where, when somebody's shooting you out like really good and you got tears in your eyes, but like you everything is flowing for them and everything is mostly true. I mean, he wasn't being unfair.
Yeah.
So like after it happened, I was kind of like, that was a really good chew out. Like that was well crafted, thought of, it flowed. And then there's a few other ones that are kind of funny. I mean, me and Derek Rabbio, as freshmen, were playing, scout team and situational games. And so we, quote unquote, won a situation. We were being jackasses and we threw the ball up in the air like we won something. And it was like a movie where it was slow-mo and he walked literally right into it and hit him right on top of the head. And it was one of those
no way.
Yeah, where everybody's like,
were you laughing? Shit. Were you laughing or were you scared?
No, we were laughing at the time, and then right when he hit him in the head, you're waiting. He's like, "Oh shit, we're gonna have to fucking run, or we're gonna have to, or you get benched or something." He didn't say anything. He just kept coaching. He just like ball hit him, and he like, it was like, yeah, he didn't say nothing. It was the weirdest thing. I thought we were gonna like get killed, And we had 5 seniors on that team, so they're looking at us like, dude. If you little fucks make us have to run,
Exactly. We'll kill you.
We'll kill you. So it was, and then another time my junior year, we played Idaho to start the season. And this right before we go to Maui, and I had like 14 points, probably played bad. Probably it was like 5 of 14 or something from the field, just a bad, unproductive game.
Yeah.
And he's in the locker room arguing with Kyle Bankhead. He played with me as a senior when I was a freshman. He was a walk-on guy. And I think he's a coach now at UNC. I think, who did we play last year? Greensboro or whatever in the first round almost lost to. Anyway, he's on that staff. And he goes, Coach Few had a shouting argument with Kyle that I couldn't score anymore. Like I couldn't I wasn't a good scorer. I lost the ability in the summer. Like Huey's classic for overanalyzing everything. That's why he's part of his strengths, but part of his weaknesses is, like if 2 ball screens don't work and you've been putting it in the whole fucking summer, he'll want to scrap it like the first week. Like, you'll just get rid of it. Yeah. Let's go back and run and flex. So like you
so he thought you were done. He thought you couldn't score.
Thought I was done. And then I go to Maui and do that. And then, I lead the country in scoring and blah, blah, blah. So he thought I was done. But it's just classic Few. He overreacts to a certain degree about certain situations. It's funny.
That's great. All right, let's go 5 minutes on current Gonzaga. We've got about 40 minutes on you, which I could do more, but let's give me 5 good minutes on current Gonzaga, and we'll start with probably the hardest one of all. Is this team better when healthy? When they get Tilly back, and they get their backup point guard back, are they better than they were 2 years ago, and why?
It's close. I think they have similar traits. Obviously, I think they have a kind of a dominant post player, quote unquote. I mean, Rui's obviously not a straight back to the basket player, but that's where he scores a lot of his points. Of isolation and duck ins from the weak side is back to the basket. So he's similar to what Shimmick was in regards to like a mismatch inside. We have a rim protector like Zach Collins was and Brandon Clark. I mean, I think he's leading the country in block shots. I mean, he was amazing in Maui. Athletically, he's a really good player. He's a really good secondary defender too. And then we have shooters on the perimeter. I think the biggest difference is depth at the point guard position. That team had Nigel Williams-Goss, obviously, and then Josh Perkins, who is our senior this year. Gino Crandall just got hurt. So I think the biggest difference really is just depth in the backcourt. But for the most part, the team feels similar. And if you look at every position, I mean, Jordan Matthews, Zach Norvell's similar player. I think Zach's a little bit more of a scorer, but you know what I'm saying? Outside shooter. And like I said, inside guy, inside dominant mismatch problem. We have our hustle guy and Corey Kispert. Every team needs, kind of can play 3 and 4.
Love him.
So, we're scoring at an amazing clip. Our assist to turnover ratio is insane. I mean, Josh Perkins I think he's 56 and 16, which is amazing as well. So we're definitely good. We're definitely got the talent, and you know how it is, though. We got to survive injuries, and once we get Killian Tilly back and Crandall, then we'll obviously be at full force. So I think we have a chance to go back to a Final Four, but I always hate putting the cart before the horse a little bit. But it's hard not to.
You got the players. You got the players.
We do. We have the players. The system's good. We're obviously playing at a high clip right now, but this next 4 or 5 games is really going to determine, how good we really are, in my opinion.
At Creighton, Washington at home, Tennessee and Phoenix, at Carolina. I mean, it's a murderer's row, to be honest. Yeah. Even Creighton's not great, but they've won some good games early, and playing in Omaha at that place is not easy.
Yeah, that's we obviously haven't played a true road game yet either. Yeah. Like you said, they just won their holiday tournament, beat, I think, Clemson, number 16 Clemson. And we beat them the year before. And I think Creighton feels like they try to model, or they feel like they can have the same success as we do because of similar, like school size or like getting diamond in the rough type of players.
Yep.
So I think this is obviously going to be a statement type game for them. And we haven't played a true road game yet, so it'll be interesting on Saturday.
Before I give one more Gonzaga question, I got to ask you about Zion. You saw him, right? You saw him 3 games in person?
Yeah.
Or no, you saw him a couple games, whatever it is. You saw him a couple games. Here's my question to you. Before the year, I thought, all right, like Zion's going to be able to overwhelm people athletically in college. It's not even going to be close. Mm-hmm. So people aren't going to be able to guard him. He's going to get his numbers. but I was really skeptical about him in the NBA. I just felt like, all right, well, he's so much more athletic in college. The gap will close. He's still a freak athlete, probably the freakest athlete even in the NBA anywhere right now. But in the NBA, is he skilled enough, right? Can he shoot it? I didn't know he was the passer that he is. I didn't know he had that type of basketball IQ, to be honest, and I'd seen him play enough. What are your thoughts on Zion, I guess, at the next level?
I mean, I think you're exactly right for the most part as far as the athleticism. He won't have a problem, obviously. I think when he gets, he's not out of shape, but when he gets like the nutritionist.
Wouldn't you love to be as out of shape as him and jump like he does? Like, that's crazy is it that we're saying that?
That's my, like, once he gets the professional, like, routine and, you know what I'm talking about. You eat better, you start sleeping, it's just your job. That's when I think it's going to be really scary because he moves better than I've ever seen a guy that size. And I know every analyst has already said that. He is more skilled than I thought, to be honest. I think once he gets, 35% to 40% 3-point shot, then he's going to be really hard to guard. Do I think he's like going to be transcendent right away?
Yeah. Marbury, I think, had a quote, didn't he? That like, he's going to be, I don't know if he said he's going to be better than LeBron, but like put him in the same category as LeBron James. And I don't see that.
I don't see it. And that's, it could be the hugest cold take of all time.
Right.
But again, putting the cart before the horse, like let the kid come into the league. Obviously, with the way the game's played now with the space floor, he'll be fine one-on-one. But you got to be able to make a jump shot now, especially a 3-point shot. So for me, I hope he gets in the right spot to where he has the proper guidance to improve his skills, as far as not just be an athlete, because obviously that stuff deteriorates. But like you said, I think he was way more skilled and had way more basketball IQ than I imagined.
Me too.
Because I thought he was just a kid that just was, just an athlete. But I watched him and I was like, well, this kid is making the right reads. He's passing.
And he's diving on the floor, like Adam. He's diving. Like, I love that. Yeah. He plays with enthusiasm too. Like as much as RJ Barrett looks like a robot out there, like Zion's the opposite. Zion's like smiling all the time. Like it looks like he loves playing the game, and I think he really does. I do.
Yeah, I totally agree. I was, really impressed with just his overall, how hard he played and his overall emotional being, or whatever you want to call it there. Because a lot of times, maybe it's a stereotype, but you get guys that have been coddled their whole life and told that they're the greatest, and you can kind of see it. He plays the opposite. And that's one thing I've always respected about Coach K, and how they've kind of switched and done the one and done. They still play together. They still looks like they play with a common purpose. Even though I think the one and done rule is, asinine, he's figured out a way to at least make it look like team basketball, common goal, all that stuff that we love about college basketball. So they got it figured out over there with that style.
What did you think of the What did you think of the criticism of RJ Barrett for not giving up the ball in those final possessions?
I think it was a fine play. I mean, he's their best one-on-one player. Trey Jones was actually playing really good that game. He kept him in it. He was scoring inside in the paint. He had a couple big-time floaters. But
you want the ball in RJ Barrett's hands.
Yeah, I think that was the right play. I mean, obviously we just talked about Zion, but he's not going to maybe hit a pull-up jumper if he can't get all the way to the rim. And we did a good job against him, even though he had a quote-unquote good game, is we, attacked his gaps when he drove all the time. And so RJ would give you the chance to probably hit a step-back jumper or get fouled. So the criticism to me was senseless.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with you.
He's their best one-on-one player. Like, who else would you want? Just because
you know who's really good? Adam, you know, Cam Reddish is super talented, and I feel like he's not getting enough of a go, again, because the ball's been dominated by RJ. Cam Reddish played point guard in high school and AAU, and he has super high upside. Like, the knock on him has always been like, you know, does he play too cool? Does he play hard enough? All of those things. So, you know, listen, the bottom line is Mike Krzyzewski's doing the thing he feels like gives them the best chance to win. And if that's putting the ball in RJ Barrett's hands, I almost feel like in those situations, I'd almost rotate him sometimes, especially in games where you can, so that all these guys have the ability to have the ball in their hands so that you don't know who you're going to key on. Like, we knew RJ Barrett was going to get the ball every time down the stretch there, where what if, as an opposing coach, you don't know if they're going to give it to Reddish, Barrett, what they're going to run.
Yeah, no, I like that too. And it puts foul pressure. And, you know, if you know who's going to get the ball, you're going to obviously put your best defender. So then if you run some counter action and then get it to a weaker defender. So yeah, you're absolutely right. I just, you know, like I said, who else would you want? He's your best one-on-one player and your best, and your best jump shooter. We the whole game we did an excellent job protecting the rim. So it was going to be either, until he got in foul trouble, but it was going to be most likely a shot or a floater, not a strip layup. So I think RJ Barrett was the right call, and I think that was the perfect game for both programs. Obviously, it was a measuring stick for us, win or lose. We wanted to see where we're at. We like our guys, obviously, and we've been through more battles than they have, but then they get to play against, obviously, a good Gonzaga team, and then when they lose, they can get rid of all the undefeated talk and greatest team. They can just go out and play now, and then Coach K can, not that he wasn't coaching him, but now he has proof, video proof. Like, hey, if you don't do this, you can lose. And now guys have to listen. Thing that could have happened. It's like the best thing for both programs. It was it's worked out for everybody.
Last one for you, and then I'll let you go. Tilly, what's your guess on when he comes back? And twofold, when he comes back, do they go big and play all three of those guys up front with Tilly, Rui, and Brandon Clark, or do you stay small and because it's going to be a little wild, do you bring Tilly off the bench?
Yeah, I think as far as when he comes back, I think they got him allotted at right at the conference when the conference starts. So it was 2 months from when he did it. So probably the end of December, I think, is when conference starts. For me personally, I would play all three of them big, not right away. I would stay with the same lineup because we're scoring at a great clip, and Corey Kispert's played pretty well in that reserve role for Killian Tilly. But I think your advantage is Rui at the 3 and then Brandon Clark at the 4 or 5. It doesn't matter with Killian Tilly. And then you can rotate them mismatch-wise. But I think what Fewy would do, is my guess, is probably bring Tilly off the bench right away to get him acclimated off the injury and maybe take a little bit of the pressure off of him. But coming into the season, I thought playing 3 guys and allowing Rui to be more of a perimeter player and making teams adjust to that was kind of what we were leaning towards. Because Rui's kind of turned into more of a 3 than he's shooting it now. He's starting to hit pull-up jumpers. He's starting to make threes. He has a small sample size. He's still shooting it at a good clip. Ball comes off his hand good. He's starting to make better decisions off the dribble. So to me, I'm like, well, play him at the 3, and that's a huge mismatch problem for any team when you have him posting up like we do. Us, we run a lot of top down and roll and replace and stuff like that. That's hard to guard. If you got a West Coast Conference 3-man guarding Rui Hachimura, who else do you put on him? You can't put, a tiny guy on him, but then if you put a big, then there's a mismatch. Brandon Clark is better than a lot of people think as well. or knew of.
He's
I
really
guess.
good. Yeah,
I
love Brandon Clark. Love him.
He is. So do I. He's so productive this whole season. He's had games. He's had 9 for 9. He's had 8 for 9. He's had a 7 for 10. And he's one of those guys that plays like 20, 25 minutes, and you don't have to run plays for him. His PER is amazing. He blocks shots. He rebounds. I mean, and he's got a little floater. He can shoot it a little bit. I think he's got a chance to be a good pro, like a third, fourth option type of guy. Just pure athlete that can run. You can switch all ball screens, defend, and then, like I said, his shooting is better than it looks, and it comes off his hand good. So I think it's something that he focuses on. He could really improve.
No, the Zags team is going to be fun to watch. I can't wait to see him a week from Sunday in Phoenix against Tennessee, 2 top 10 teams there. So they'll get tested even before then. Listen, I appreciate you jumping on, Adam. Really, really fun. Looking forward to, again, next Saturday night. Don't I know you kept
I
all
will be at Bottled Blonde, so you know where to find me.
We
obviously have each other's phone number, but I will be there and be in full force.
Done. I will be there with you. I promise. I will be there with you. And the good thing, the best thing, is I think the game isn't it like 12 or 1? It's not like okay. I mean, we can get after it a little bit and sleep in and still be fine.
Yeah. No, and I play hurt all the time on the road, so it's no problem for me.
I'm sure you do. Because at home it's a little different, right? 3 kids, a little different.
Yeah, a little bit.
All right. Well, listen, I'll see you next week. I appreciate it, and thanks again.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care, man. Thanks for joining us. Another edition of Good and Plenty in the books. And thanks to my guest today, none other than former Gonzaga star Adam Morrison, who I'll tell you what, I could just listen to him tell stories all day long. We probably should have went just, an hour straight on Adam Morrison from back in the day in his Gonzaga career and even NBA and everything like that. But terrific guest. Hopefully we'll have him on again. Thanks to my producer, Chris Grenham. As usual, Good and Plenty podcast. You can subscribe on Stitcher, on iTunes. You can go to CLNS Media. You can find me again on Twitter at Goodman Hoops and at WatchStadium.com. Remember, every Tuesday, NBA edition. Every Thursday, College Hoops edition. Give us your reviews, your feedback, any suggestions you have so we can make this thing better as we go along. But thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again next week.